Welcome to Mindful Drawing. I'm Robert, and I'll be your guide on this meditation practice that enters a space of mindfulness through the act of drawing. This week, we're going to explore that continuous, unfolding line or curve that makes a spiraling action on the page. We'll use that as our entrance, as our point of focus, that continuity of shape, but ever changing condition of the spiral will let us follow our breath, find our rhythm and our cycles, expand onto the page, explore the relationship between the many and the whole, and eventually begin to create some new organisms, some living things there that reach and branch, wrap, constrict, extend, and start to suggest their place of being through our mind, through the instrument in our hand, and on that medium of the paper. Speaking to medium, I think I'll use colored pencils this week just to have a little fun, have some variety, and let nuance play as these simple curving spirals expand and layer outwards to give body and character to the form. Anything you have at work, pen, pencil, colored pencils, markers, something you can move in that continuous fashion, adjust your speed and tempo, and find that open space for mindful play and creativity. So go ahead and gather your supplies, establish your space, and let's draw together. We'll let the idea of a continuous curve be our guide. It'll have to make some breaks and stops and reconnections during the exercise, but that simplest kind of continuous curve making some form of spiraling action. So for the warm-up, getting a sense of what you see and draw as a spiral, a little series of kind of radiating concentric rings, but they may be square, oval, circle, paperclip shaped, strange shaped. Chance here to feel them out. Take note of working clockwise versus counterclockwise, big versus small, even versus irregular. Just that moving curve continuously wrapping itself can work from the outside in or the inside out. Go both directions. Some of this is inspired by some work of my students who have been very into the effects of this spiraling shape in inflatables and origami structures. A lot of discussions about how do you draw it. There's programmatic ways of incrementally turning and moving forward, turning and moving forward, and gradually increasing distances, or more subtle ways of just feeling it out. Or you can use something like the golden ratio or the golden section to structure and program a specific type of spiral and ratio. But with these set and as a feeling, I think we'll treat them as just part of the curve. The curve may move for a while and then enter into a diminishing cycle towards that center of the spiral. The curve may begin in the center, work out for a while, and then head off somewhere new until it returns on itself, coiling like grape fronds. And from that, you can build the composition. We'll work in small clusters. And I think then begin to look at how they can become more cohesive entities by bringing a boundary or shape to them, giving them material or solidity. We're gonna do a few just to get that warm up of the hand moving around, or take it on its own time, using both hands to center the nervous system a little bit, them wrapping around the center. And choosing the instrument you'd like to work with and draw with. The pen will work just fine, pencil. And I think here I'll use a bit of colored pencil, purple, calling to me when I open the container. And the page or the canvas, depending on the size, will just allow us to make little clusters of spiraling extensions and curves. You can think of them like plants, like little organisms. They remind me of a book called Blind Sight by Peter Watts, who describes some strange aliens, little spirally arms. So somewhere there on the paper, whatever images come to mind of those continuous compressing and expanding shapes. Take a good, refreshing and grounding inhalation and exhalation cycle. Find the place to begin, somewhere on that paper. Choose the direction, clockwise or counterclockwise, to set that engagement with the page and the action. And then begin the spiral with the first moment. Not too fast, not too slow, just establishing there on the page. And when you feel ready from that center, let it move off to find a new space. This kind of double engaging spiral, a base element for the drawing. A shared nucleus or center. But from that, at any point along a curve, you could just stick with these and have many, or allow some arms to branch off from tangents and make their own new wells of curve nearby, like little fern extensions. I think I'll focus on massing 2, 3, 4, somewhere in there, before going deeper into what it might become. They could head out from anywhere. This first one, an establishing of what a figure might look like. Once it takes shape, we'll do a few more of the clusters, close or far, up to you as you navigate that space of the page. And with the next couple, we can use them to really sink in and relax to that motion of drawing, the starting of something on the paper. So as you feel ready to begin again, finding that place, taking a breath to set the initial direction of motion, and on comfortable exhalation, beginning again that path outwards from center. This time going a little slower, just to be present with the movement of the hand until you reach a point where it may feel strained, to have come to its own conclusion. And then we branch off again, begin the next cycle of curving inwards until we run out of space. And as we add extensions or branches to this, taking them even slower, breathing in to start somewhere, breathing out to extend a curve away. And looking to align some of the breath with the cycles of the spiral, breathing in, say on the upstroke, and out on the downstroke, whatever that is relative to your position. In fully to a side, and out fully to a side of the spiraling action. The drawing becoming slower and slower as we reach towards center. And perhaps from that slowness, we can begin in a center and reach back out to the whole. An exhalation starting one part of the loop, coming around to the inhalation. From that slow cycling of the breath, finding an even pace. And gradually increasing in speed, the breath staying the same. When the space permits, returning it to the lines of the whole, taking it through, letting one branch or sprout off somewhere to the other side. The breath even, the hand modified to match. Noticing if you get a little ahead or a little behind. Just gently adjusting. Really begin one more cluster somewhere, keeping that cycling of even a little slow, but comfortably slow breaths to really bring oxygen and presence. Starting from the exhalation in the direction of travel. And using the inhalation and exhalation to guide the curves around center. Starting for yourself to feel when it's ready and time to spin off. Really focusing in the way that hand is moving with the breath. Finding opportunities for extension at your own pace. Aligning the breath to the shape and the orientation. Fully immersing the actions with the body and the mind together on the page. You can do more clusters, some smaller ones. Take a little time in that space you've made there with the careful, attentive breaths, the mindful action inwards, present now, is part of your meter, your tempo. Can lighten it up a little bit, less controlled and deliberate. is still there in the mind of a rhythm extending out from the core through the structure into the fingertips and continuing into the pencil or pen. Just listening to your breath, to the sounds of your body's engagement with the act of forming this continuous curve. And in a moment, we'll move, working into the spirals, to following them as canvases, a potential creating. Take your time to wrap up wherever you are, page, with a few floating compositions, and finding one that draws your interest, and maybe first a retracing, a re-entering of it, finding thickness to the curve, bringing it from that two-dimensional space of a point moving along path, starting to expand its dimensions, perhaps a little thickening of the base of the trunk where they meet, feathering out, the structuring of their connections, something that brings a little more heaviness and thickness, difference from the base geometry. Bringing a little more emphasis and presence on the page, the spiral with its connections to the neighbor through a continuous or flowing line, the spiral with its center marking place. And the same action can happen throughout the drawing for now, establishing a way of seeing the forms in more detail, looking at where you can add a little texture, tone, a dimension to that line. You can continue working there, maybe choose a new medium, a new color, and begin to add layers to that, bringing a body to the curve, imagining an exterior layer like a plant, building out, following loosely the structure of the form. Little arms extending, or vines if you like to look deeper inwards to them. Something furled, giving mass. But for us, a tracing of the line, a presence and connection between what is already on the page, and the way we move our hand, the way we follow with the eye, that link of nerves. Really begin to bring your presence and attention to that tracking. Notice if the curves are fast or slow. Notice if you make sharp turns or soft maneuvers. Whatever those are, they'll add something to the page, to the dimension of the piece. We'll spend a little time on one, looking for the techniques that we see in it. So they might work in some layers, tracing and retracing just a little bit different, a little bit off. The lines exploring a little more loosely, a little more sharply into the nooks and crannies. The eye a guide, the hand an instrument, sometimes following its directions, coping and adapting to changing direction. Sometimes resisting the action. We suggest creating something new, something in the space between what we may think we want and what it's able to do. And do a few more of these layers, reaching their way out. They can become more complex. Maybe they gain a curvy edge or an undulation as we spend time here in the tracking, sampling through different points. Bringing character and play into the structure of the space established. Getting the mind opened up, the hand free or flowing. All of that oxygen, breath, and open space now available to move through, move into, transform, find the character of these spiral clusters. It'll take 5 minutes or so. Continue to work on one or repeat out some of the same things. Each one of these its own little forming organism, developing its unique character and structure with a shared base, the branching, extending curves that wrap in on themselves, the centers spiraling out to reach and connect with their neighbors. Enjoy that little time in the space you've made, drawing, playing. Into these alien shapes. Just a strange collection of arms spiraling, wrapping, reaching, whenever they may be. The pen or pencil may just follow the guidance of the structure, layering, the application of medium, pen building up contours, the softer graphite building in tone and shade. And maybe something enters the mind. An imagination, idea, thing, or maybe it's unknown. Now, just a collection of curves, and contours, colors, and layers. Something to follow for a little while. Trust the eye to guide the hand. Open to the technique to work and form with the shapes. And allow the play to slowly create a potential something on the page. The process perhaps just getting started or wrapping to completion with the exercising out of a whole piece. One defining structure, suggesting the many. Notice if you enter into the shape to draw with it or work around it. Both are interfaces to a given landscape, finding a connection to it, mapping it, tracing its edges, cutting across, different ways of understanding. The practice of seeing, observing, noticing, and then engaging with something mindfully. But as we near the end of the time, finding a place, an idea started, maybe not complete, but present, to bring the hands to rest. Let them sit, perhaps out on the table or the sketchbook in front of you, however they feel comfortable, relaxed, neutral, at work, moving around, tightening, control, action. Now releasing just a loose movement and restful pose for a moment. Let the mind back through the hands, let the hands back through the body. Move them together, bring them together, recreate that reflection. Stretch out the fingers, get them a little loose while the blood reflows. Take a good deep breath when you're ready. Hold it in for a moment and exhale into your space as you re-notice where you are and what's around you. Come back to the whole and prepare to head out to the rest of your day. It can sometimes seem or become so easy in a mindfulness practice to lose track of time. I find that happens often here with the drawing. At first, we must follow a series of steps that feel comfortable, that feel engaging to us, to find that more open space, a little bit of quiet, a little bit of technique, a little bit of movement out on the paper, just to get everything thinking and being together in one place. Once that presence of now is established, then things maybe start to open up, and that's just when we get started, and it's time to bring the exercise to a close. that practice of drawing out the opening, of drawing out the getting ready to be creative, helps us at other times enter it more quickly. We don't need 4, 5, 6 entities here. We could take a couple of minutes on a piece of scratch paper and just remind ourselves. Breathe in, breathe out, feel the page, hold the pen, breathe in, breathe out, and move, guiding the hand with our mind and our eye, giving yourself that time to prepare for entering an action, and then a few breaths, a warm-up, a return to the centering of yourself, and an engagement with a creative act, whether that's drawing, writing a paper, journaling, taking down a few ideas, making something with your hands, or just thinking for a little while deeply on a subject, prepping the mind, practicing that prep, doing the work beforehand so the work at the time flows easily. I hope you found something fun, creative in the spiraling action, something slowly emerging as a creature, an organism. I mentioned during the exercise the book Blind Sight by Peter Watts. I suggest check it out. It's a sci-fi novel. He brings a lot of biological knowledge into the creation of an unknown, a really alien encounter and species, and it crafts an interesting world in general around the divergence and development of biology and the way we think about those differences between us. But if you like the exercise, give it a thumbs up, share with your friends, and subscribe for more mindful drawing episodes, usually every Wednesday here on YouTube, where we explore a range of mediums. Keep it easy and simple, engaging the action and the presence, not the representation or the subject. I hope you have a wonderful day and draw well. Thank you.